This missile, equipped with a nuclear warhead, could destroy an entire city. This factory can produce goods man needs to live in times of peace. The talents which produce missiles can be turned to the development of peacetime economies. What balance, then, should nations strike between goods for war and those for peace? Can we convert some missiles to factories without endangering our safety? A key to the reduction of international tensions may lie in the answers to these questions. Dr. Anatole Rappaport and Dr. Marc of the University of Michigan are seeking the answers to those questions in a series of experiments sponsored by the National Science Foundation. The essential problem has to do with the psychology of trust and suspicion. Objective costs and payoffs are specified for the participants in the experiments. The experiments are conducted in the form of two-person games in which each player must decide whether to convert any of the 20 missiles on a board in front of him into factories, a conversion made by the turning over of tokens. His partner and opponent in the game, seated next to him but hidden from him, must make the same decisions. A game consists of 20 moves by each player. At each move, the player has 3 options open to him. He can convert 1 or 2 missiles into factories, or if he has already converted, he can convert 1 or 2 factories back to missiles, or he may, if he chooses, do nothing at all. His opponent is ignorant of his strategy on any one move. The players are playing for real money, and they know the stakes involved. How much each can win depends in part on his opponent. If both disarm, both will benefit. If both arm, they must both pay the costs of staying armed. But if only one disarms, the other one can gain at the advantage of the first. Let's follow a few of the moves in an actual game. As you watch, bear in mind the options which each player has. To disarm by converting missiles into factories, to arm by converting factories to missiles, or simply to sit tight. At some point in the game, an inspection takes place. During this time, the experimenter informs each player of what his opponent has done up to that point. Following the inspection, the game will continue until the 20th move is completed, ending the game. Each set of players completes many such games in each experimental session. At the end of the session, his score is computed and the appropriate settlement made in cash. There are more than 400 different possible outcomes, but in all of them, disarming only pays off if both parties are doing it. Here are a few of the possible final states of the two players' boards. The game is played over and over again by large numbers of subjects. Some decide to trust each other and are rewarded for it. In some cases, the trust is betrayed. In some cases, the players resign themselves to the position of military strength and give up trying to achieve the benefits of disarmament. The scientists conducting this investigation, biomathematician Anatole Rappaport and psychologist Marc, both of the University of Michigan's Mental Health Research Institute, are using this experiment to test certain hunches they have about what manner of play and what types of player are going to lead to trust and what types will lead to suspicion, distrust, and continuation of the arms race. The data which they collect is being analyzed by means of giant computers. Already the study has produced certain striking findings about how cooperative moves by one player may induce cooperation by the other. Dr. Rappaport and Dr. Pilasuk both feel that in the long run, research which tells us about the nature of trust may have some applicability in showing us new ways to break out of serious conflicts where people have grown suspicious of one another. Here are some other final possible outcomes. No one disarms. A military stalemate. Four factories for the first, 4 factories for the second, a tentative step toward disarmament. 7 factories for the first player, 6 for the second, a more positive step toward disarmament. 10 factories for the first, 11 factories for the second, halfway there. 16 factories for the first, 19 factories for the second player. Now the second player forges ahead. 18 factories for the first player, 15 factories for the second player. Now the first player forges ahead. 20 factories for the first player, 0 factories for the second player has stabbed the first in the back. The rewards of trust are obvious. By trusting one another and both disarming, both players can win. Many conflicts between marriage partners, between racial groups, between nations have similar characteristics. Research psychologists are attempting to produce knowledge of human behavior under conflict, which could be helpful in producing a better understanding to the pathway of human trust. It is one of the many ways in which psychologists are trying to apply their skills in the search for world peace. This missile equipped with a nuclear warhead could destroy an entire city. This factory can produce goods man needs to live in times of peace.